Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into something you've probably got sitting in your medicine cabinet at this very second, paracetamol. But we aren't just doing a standard textbook review today. We are going to examine it through a really fascinating lens, the landscape of Sudan, to uncover exactly how this everyday medication connects massive local manufacturing to microscopic biology and ultimately to your personal safety.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for the Explainer. First, Sudan's local pharma giants. Second, the science of paracetamol. Third, paracetamol in Sudanese pharmacies. And finally, we'll cover a really critical warning, the hepatotoxicity danger zone.
So, starting off with Section 1, Sudan's local pharma giants.
40%. Honestly, that is a massive number. It's not just a dry statistic, it's a huge testament to local industry. A private, family-owned company called Amif Pharma has managed to capture over 40% of the total Sudanese pharmaceutical market share. So when we talk about medicine in Sudan, we are almost always talking about Amif Pharma. They're a monumental player in actually getting these critical medicines out to the population.
And you know, a giant like this doesn't just spring up overnight. Amit Pharma was actually established way back in 1975, and by 1983, they had their first production lines up and running. Fast forward to the present day, and they've got well over 100 different products in production. They've built this incredibly robust distribution network that covers all the Sudanese provinces, which is absolutely paramount to their success.
So we can see the massive corporate infrastructure pumping out these medications. But it begs the question, right? What exactly is this chemical, scientifically known as acetaminophen or N-acetyl-P-aminophenol, and how does this star painkiller actually work once it's inside your body?
Which brings us to Section 2, the science of paracetamol.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how elegantly simple yet incredibly targeted the chemistry is. Paracetamol acts as a non-opioid analgesic and antipyretic through what's called central nervous system inhibition. Basically, it travels straight to your brain and spinal cord and blocks the synthesis of prostaglandins. Think of prostaglandins as your body's pain messengers. By completely shutting down their production centrally, paracetamol essentially intercepts the signal, stopping your brain from ever registering that you're in pain.
But here's the catch, and this is where paracetamol differentiates itself from other common drugs like ibuprofen. While it brilliantly blocks those pain messengers up in the central nervous system, it has a surprisingly weak effect on peripheral prostaglandins. Those are the messengers out in your limbs and tissues where swelling happens. Because of this, paracetamol lacks strong anti-inflammatory properties. Simply put, it'll absolutely kill your headache, but it really won't do much at all for a swollen, inflamed ankle.
All right, moving right along to Section 3, paracetamol in Sudanese pharmacies.
Let's step out of the biology and look at the real world. Paracetamol's absolute importance to public health is basically set in stone by the Sudan National Essential Medicines List, which perfectly aligns with World Health Organization standards. It is officially listed as a fundamental, essential medicine that just has to be available to treat pain and fever across all of the nation's healthcare facilities.
And obviously, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Health authorities mandate very specific dosage forms. As you can see, for adults, you've got your standard 500 milligram tablets. But for pediatric care, they rely on syrups concentrated at 125 milligrams per 5 milliliters, along with 125 and 250 milligram suppositories. And this brilliantly illustrates how that generic chemical gets transformed into the highly accessible local brands you actually see on the shelf. Amidi Pharma produces the incredibly popular Amidol, along with spin-offs like Amidol Extra and Amidol Cold and Flu. You'll also spot Paracetamol tablets and suspension from Dafra Pharma, and even combined medications like Datromol, which actually pairs paracetamol with tramadol for much stronger pain relief. Now for the really serious part, Section 4, the hepatotoxicity danger zone. So, the crucial point we have to make here is that this drug is a very sharp, double-edged sword. At normal therapeutic doses, paracetamol is exceptionally safe. But if you cross a specific threshold and accidentally overdose, the dangers are literally catastrophic. 4 grams. Please, literally sear this number into your memory. 4 grams is the absolute maximum daily limit for a healthy adult. It's a hard biological boundary that you should never, ever cross within a 24-hour window. And the scary thing is, because paracetamol is hidden in so many different cold and flu combination brands, it is dangerously easy to accidentally take way more than 4 grams if you aren't religiously checking your labels. To give this the authoritative weight it really deserves, let's look at the exact clinical warning from our source material regarding this drug in Sudan. It states, تجاوز الجرعة اليومية القصوى 4 جرامات يسبب تلفاً كبدياً حاداً غير عكسي.
Translated, that starkly means exceeding the maximum daily dose of 4 grams causes severe, irreversible acute liver damage.
The exact medical term for this consequence is hepatotoxicity. Once you push past that 4-gram threshold, your liver's natural pathways for safely breaking down the drug just become completely overwhelmed. A highly toxic byproduct rapidly builds up, basically destroying your liver cells. And as the warning explicitly notes, this damage is acute and it is entirely irreversible. The biological stakes of this seemingly mundane everyday medicine literally could not be higher.
So, to wrap this all up, paracetamol is highly effective, but it is strictly bound by its biological limits. The incredible local production by giants like Pharma ensures that this essential drug is widely available to the people of Sudan, easing suffering every single day. But the underlying science absolutely demands our respect.
Seeing the immense industry behind it, the extremely specific way it alters our brain chemistry, and the absolute finality of its dosage limits, it really makes you wonder, right? Do we take the power and the very real risks of our most common household medicines totally for granted? It is definitely something to think about the next time you reach for a box of Advil. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious, and hey, always read your labels.